Welcome back to Footballology. So I kind of have to put out this video. At the beginning of the football season, I said Carson Wentz is going to be a top 5 quarterback. Now that has not held true by any means at all. He's been struggling. He's been up and down. He's been doing a lot that he just can't control or things that are out of his control. But then at the same time, the things that are in his control, you see he's throwing multiple interceptions. He's holding the ball longer than he should. And I think there's a lot going on around him, but then at the same time, he's not helping the Eagles be better either. And as a franchise quarterback, like I felt like he was going to be, or even a top 5 quarterback, regardless of what's around you, you should make things better. But if we start to look at it and really dive deep into what's going on, and the same thing happened late last year too, he was throwing to third, fourth, fifth string receivers and guys that we barely even know or heard of. I mean, they're going out there and they're making plays, and some guys have stepped up, but it hasn't been to the point where if he would have had D-Jags, or if he would have had Alshon Jeffrey out there, or if he had Zach Ertz for most of the year, those skill position players, or missing those skill position players, has definitely hindered him from being a better quarterback. I feel like he's still a young quarterback, so having good weapons around you definitely helps. Definitely, it can't hurt, but it is hurting him, but you know what I mean. And so that's one aspect of what's going on around him. I think the other aspect of it is his offensive line. Now, one thing that I've always stand true to, and I kind of hate, but it has a lot of fact to it, is that when people say, "Oh, well, if you give this quarterback time in the pocket, he's going to make the right throw, or he's going to make an accurate throw," and things of that nature. And I'm like, I hate that saying, because if you give any decent quarterback enough time in the pocket, he's going to make the right throw or whatever. But with Carson Wentz, once again, he's dealing with third stringers, fourth stringers, fifth string offensive linemen in the professional NFL. Now, I know everyone's going to say, well, these are pro athletes. They go out there and they get paid to do this. I get it. But even the best player, okay, so we take your job, for instance. Even your best guy at your job, when he's doing his job at the highest level, no one can do it better than him, right? But then if you bring in somebody that's supposed to replace him, if he takes a day off or if he goes on vacation, that guy doesn't do the job to the same standard as him. Even though he's paid, it's just not the same standard. And the same thing can be said for the Philadelphia Eagles and their offensive line play. I think with their offensive line play, missing Jason Peters, losing Andre Dillard at the beginning of the season before the season kicked off, and then Lane Johnson being in and out of the lineup. The most consistent lineman they've had this year is probably Jason Kelce. And so it really sucks that now we start to see that all these other players are coming in and Carson Wentz still has to make do. Not a lot of other teams can say that about their starting quarterbacks. Even Aaron Rodgers, who I feel like is one of the best perfume quarterbacks in the league, which he masks a lot that goes onto his offense, or masks a lot of what his GM doesn't do for him as far as drafting receivers or the skill position players, he still makes the offense a better offense. With Carson Wentz, he just hasn't had players around him to say, I can rely on this guy just a little bit more than I could the other guys. Now, Travis Fulgham did come on and start, show signs of being that guy, but it kind of sucked because he never really truly, established himself as the one. Because now, even with Jalen Rager being back and a lot of other guys starting to get healthy, now we see Travis Fulgham start to get less touches, which makes no sense. So I don't think he ever really took completely off, but he definitely made some strides in the right direction, if you will. So I basically said all that to say this. Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles should get rid of Carson Wentz. I don't like the idea of it, but I think they need to recruit something. They need to try to retool this offense. And if Jalen Hurts is the guy moving forward, then so be it. Let's go ahead. Let's retool our offense. Let's make Jalen Hurts our quarterback and do the same thing that the Baltimore Ravens did. Now, I know Carson Wentz is due for a lot of money, and I know that's going to kill the Philadelphia Eagles salary cap, but they're going to have to move some pieces, and they're going to have to lose some guys. If Carson Wentz is not your guy anymore, and you feel like Jalen Hurts can be that guy or can be the guy moving forward, then so be it. Let him be the guy. So basically, I came up with 3 teams that I feel like that could easily go out and get Carson Wentz, who have not only the means, but the personnel to really get the most out of Carson Wentz. And now let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Some of these teams are going to be off the wall, and I really doubt if any of this happens, but I almost can guarantee that if one of these teams was to get Carson Wentz, I feel like they would be a better team than what they are today. So first on my list of 3 possible teams that could use Carson Wentz and probably get the most out of him, and this is completely dark horse, completely long shot, definitely a 1% chance of this happening, is the Washington football team. Now, the reason why I say that is if you bring in Carson Wentz into the Washington football team, he can push the ball down the field to Terry McLaurin. He can definitely get him involved in the offense like they want him to be involved in the offense. With Antonio Gibson coming on as the running back that he has, that can definitely improve things in the right direction. Now, I guess realistically, it's called what's the price at this point? With Carson Wentz having a down season, his value is down as well. So at this point, if you're a team like the Washington football team, you can buy low and get them in for cheap, realistically. And, I know not Carson Wentz, I think Alex Smith is still under contract too, which could definitely hinder this from happening. But I definitely like to see Carson Wentz go there with that defense playing the way they are. Get him in there with that offense and allow that offense to keep develop into something greater. And I think realistically, the Washington football team could be an even dangerous team. Now, like I said, this is not even a 1% chance. This is like 1% chance of this happening, because definitely it's in division, and that's for one reason it's not going to happen. And then for two, I think the Washington football team are really trying to tool this team around being a more run dominant offense and passing when needed, and not passing as often as if you got a guy like Carson Wentz in there. But I would definitely like to see Carson Wentz with the Washington football team. I think it would be really interesting how he could make this offense take that step closer to being one of the more elite offenses, because I still feel like Carson Wentz is a top 5 quarterback. Next on my list is the Denver Broncos. Now, I know John Elway and the Broncos have been going on this carousel of quarterbacks trying to find the next starting quarterback since Peyton Manning has left, and they keep bringing it up all the time, but a lot of people are hoping that Drew Lock can definitely step in that role and be the quarterback that they're hoping that he can become, and take this Broncos offense to the next level with this play. But if that's not the case and the Broncos are willing to separate with some picks, like I said, value's low with Carson Wentz, so you're not buying that high. But if they're willing to separate with some picks for Carson Wentz, I would like to see him in this offense. Garrett Bowles is starting to step up at the left tackle position, which is really good. That means they're going to have some definitely solid offensive line play in front of Carson Wentz. It's definitely important. And then we go to the skill position with a guy like Courtney Sutton coming back off of an injury. We're going to have Jerry Jeudy there. Tim Patrick looks really good. KJ Hamler looks really good. You got Noah Fant. You got Albert O. Like, the weapons are definitely there. Phillip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon. So weapons wouldn't be a shortage for Carson Wentz to kind of plug into this offense. The defense hopefully gets healthier and better. And now I think that they don't have the money, and they have a little bit of money, but I'm not sure how the contract would settle out and how much they would have to come up off of come up out of them pockets for Carson Wentz. But I would definitely like to see him in this offense with those weapons and with this emerging offensive line. This will give him time in the pocket, and that will give him people to throw the ball to. And I think that once again, with him being in this offense, will elevate the play of not only himself, but of the players around him. We'll start seeing guys like Jerry Jeudy really step up and look even better than what he has this far in this year. And then Courtland Sutton, obviously coming back, I feel like is a big body receiver that would be even more valuable and important. Tim Patrick, once again, a guy that showed up and can be one of those good third option guys. I mean, probably the fourth option with Noah Fant being out there, which we know Carson Wentz definitely likes to hit his tight end. So Carson Wentz being in this offense will definitely take this Denver Broncos offense to the next level. Then they use the rest of their resources on the defensive side of the ball. Hopefully Von Miller comes back and still is Von Miller. Bradley Chubb is still there. You can get some good edge rushers. And they look like they got some good, decent inside linebackers for the low right now. And then, and bolster up your secondary. Like, it wouldn't take much to go out and get Carson Wentz for the low. Once again, I think, if you're Philadelphia and you're asking for, King's ransom, you're tripping. Because, like, I'm saying, like, hey, look at his numbers this year. He's been down. And they're like, well, I don't care. His numbers are down. Give me, I'm buying for the low. Like, you either sell it to me for the low or you don't sell it to me at all. But I would definitely like to see Carson Wentz in this offense. I definitely can see that he can, like I said, elevate his play, but also elevate the play of the players around him. And then having the offense line to play would just make things even more easier and more understandable for him, because then he's not rushing and throw the ball down the field. Hopefully he doesn't hang on to the ball that long, but he's not rushing the ball down the field. I think Carson Wentz and the Denver Broncos would be a good match made in heaven too. So the last team on my list is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, what's comical about this, on Twitter at the beginning of the season, right after they traded Leonard Fournette, and everybody was like, well, they're tanking, blah, 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 whatever. I was like, they're still a good roster, and I believe that they're still a good roster, and they're getting a lot of money back. Like, they have a lot of money coming their way, a lot of money. And going to get a guy like Carson Wentz would definitely only make this team a lot better. I think once again we're buying low for Carson Wentz, but you get Cam Robinson under contract and get him locked in place. You still got a good offensive line. I feel like it's really good. A young offensive line in place. You got James Robinson, who's been running the ball like a traditional running back, which is really interesting because I think Carson Wentz in Philadelphia has been playing more of like the scat back role with Miles Sanders, and had Darren Sproles there for a little while, Corey Kamen, Boston Scott. So he had some guys there that were just kind of like, But if James Robinson can continue running the ball like he has this year and in the near future, and getting a guy like Carson Wentz, now you have a traditional run game. Maybe that box is a little bit lighter for James Robinson, and then now Carson Wentz can take the top off with a guy like DJ Chark on one side. We have Laviska Shenault, who's another guy that's really showing flashes for the Jaguar team. I'm not sure if Chris Conley's still under contract, but that'd be another guy. Hopefully Tyler Eifert stays for another year, because then at that point, then you have Eifert, who's another guy, another big body tight end that we know Carson Wentz likes to hit. And then you can kind of use the rest of your resources, tweaking positions here and there. But I think you go ahead and on defense, I feel like they're good, but they can use another player or two on defense for sure. But then you go ahead and you kind of bring in another weapon or two for Carson Wentz on the offensive side of the ball, getting Carson Wentz, plug all Carson Wentz in this offense, and I think the Jaguars can easily be a contender in the AFC South that's realistically kind of open. I mean, the Colts have looked really good this year, and the Houston Texans are starting to turn that corner. And then obviously we have Tennessee, but I feel like getting a guy like Carson Wentz in there can definitely change the momentum of the Jaguars. Now I know that the hard part about this is if you're the Jaguars, you can say, well, right now we're sitting at number 2 overall. We have a chance to get, I'm going to say, either Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, depending on what happens in front of us with the Jets. And the Jets was another option for Carson Wentz, but and I don't know. Who knows what's gonna happen with the Jets? That team is in disorder. Like, they're just all over the place right now. But I understand that you can go get a young quarterback and bring in a young quarterback, and then maybe fire Doug Marrone and get an offensive coordinator or offensive-minded head coach in there and go with the new school rebuild. But how about we keep Marrone? We give Carson Wentz another opportunity in Jacksonville, and then we take that the number 2 overall pick and we use it on, say, a linebacker or a corner, or we trade down and get more resources back in our pocket after trading for Carson Wentz. I think there's multiple options that we can do here, and definitely give us an opportunity to make this team a better team and still bring in a guy like Carson Wentz and have an opportunity to take our game to the next level. So like I said at the beginning of the year, I said Jaguars had a good roster, and I feel like they still got a good roster. I feel like they still have an opportunity to be a competitive team. Get a guy like Carson Wentz in there. Gardner Minshew, obviously, it was cute while it lasted, I guess you could say, but he was banged up at the beginning of this year. Gardner Minshew stays on as a backup quarterback maybe, and let's call it a day. Get Carson Wentz in there and let's make something happen. I think Carson Wentz and the Jaguars, ideally, I like the chances of this happening, but then also I feel like that this is going to be the most success not only for the team's sake, but for Carson Wentz's sake as well. Like I said, if Philadelphia is trying to get rid of Carson Wentz, then they need to go ahead and just let it happen. Just go ahead and make it happen. Start shopping them around now while you can, and then when the draft rolls around, you know what you're going to do as far as like your personnel around Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is if he's your quarterback moving forward, then let him be your quarterback moving forward. Don't be shy. Don't be scared of it. I think that's the one thing that's playing into the Philadelphia's decision, if you will, is their ego. You don't want to say, well, we took this guy number 2 overall, was he number 1 overall? No, he's number 2, right? I can't remember. And we took this guy at the top of the draft. We paid him all this money. We thought that we had a franchise quarterback, and maybe we were wrong. And maybe it was not y'all. Maybe it's just, the situation that's around him. Recruit some resources for him. Get some draft picks. Get some money back. Whatever the case may be. Go ahead and cut your losses. Take your L and keep moving forward. But as long as teams keep putting their ego in place, and I'm going to say teams, but GMs or coaches keep putting their ego in place, it's going to hurt the team in the long run than it is in the short term, and you're going to hurt the player too. Carson Wentz is still a young quarterback. He has an opportunity to flourish at this level. Give him an opportunity to flourish. Give yourself an opportunity to probably bring in some more players and some more people that can definitely help this team or get this team on the right track. If Jalen Hurts is your future, let it be your future. You didn't take him in the second round for shits and giggles, just like the Green Bay Packers didn't take Jordan Love in the first round for shits and giggles. You do things for a reason, especially at that position when you feel like you had a guy already at that position. It was funny when you go back and you rewind time, you look at the Washington football team when they took RG3 at the top of the draft, number 2 overall, and then I think in the 5th round they took Kirk Cousins, and everybody was like, oh, well, you got a starting quarterback and you got a backup quarterback, and come to find out one of those quarterbacks are actually going to continue to start in the league while the other one fell off. And there was, at that point, if you're Washington, you just gotta take your L's. You gotta cut your losses and just say, we messed up, we missed out, he just wasn't the guy. And at this case, I know you got a lot of money invested, which makes the decision even harder, but you made the decision twice on the same guy. You made 2 strikes. Don't make it a 3rd strike. Go ahead, cut your losses while you're ahead of the game, because the 3rd time might mess up the team and it might mess up the player. Definitely go ahead, cut your losses. You picked the number 1 or you picked the number 2 overall, and then you picked, and then you paid them all that money. You messed up. It just happens. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. If you're a Philadelphia fan, do you like the idea of just moving forward with Jalen Hurts and building an offense around him, like Baltimore Ravens have done, or like Cam Newton and the Patriots have done, where these teams are starting to kind of build offenses to kind of showcase their quarterback's talents with a guy like Jalen Hurts, who can still throw the ball. Like, I'm not saying he's a pure runner. He can throw the ball really well. But would you like that idea if you're a Philadelphia fan, and just moving Carson Wentz and taking your L as far as salary cap and whatever the case may be, and just recouping some resources off of that? And if you're a fan of the Jaguars or the Washington football team or the Denver Broncos, what do you think about the idea of bringing in Carson Wentz? Do you think that's an option that you would be okay with your team doing? If the price is right. Like I said, if the price is right, make the strike. Like, don't do anything, outrageous or crazy. But if the price is right, would you like Carson Wentz to come in and be the quarterback for your respective team? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And if you're not a footballologist yet, go and subscribe to the YouTube channel today. Become a footballologist, and stay safe, football fans.